Richie?
What's up, bud? You there?
Hey, how are you doing? Can you hear me all right?
Good. How are you, bud?
I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. Thanks for taking some time. For those listening in online, we're doing a Music on the Menu podcast. This is the 8th one that we've done, going into our 3rd week of doing interviews with people from the local music scene here in northeastern Pennsylvania, talking to people from different walks of life that are involved with music in different ways, and how the COVID-19 crisis is affecting them personally and obviously professionally. Today on the line, we have an old friend of mine. He is the co-owner and operator of Rock Street Music in Pittston. He is a drummer with the group Flaxy Morgan, who recently celebrated its 25th anniversary last year. So Richie has been involved in music on every level, from helping, produce shows with sound and lighting equipment at major events and club shows for years, having a store that sells musical instruments and offers lessons, and also as a working musician who's been out there playing gigs for 25 plus years now, or going back even longer than that to some of his bands prior to Flaxy. So Richie, thanks so much for taking some time this morning.
Thank you for having me, Alan. But 25 years, I thought I was only like 32. I've been 9 years old.
Yeah, you started young, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Rich, I'm beginning all these conversations, and we're going to talk about all those things. I want to talk to you about how this whole situation has affected, the business side with Rock Street, with production and sound and lights, with gigs. I want to talk to you about Flaxy, the storefront side of things. So we've got a couple of things to cover, but I like to begin all these conversations right now with just asking how you're doing, how's your family doing, is everybody hanging in there okay?
Yeah, as the most important for everybody is to be safe and healthy, and thank God everybody in our family and everybody that I know of all my friends. I always worried about a lot of people, like a lot of the essential people. I always like to, I would like to, start it off with saying, all the essential people from A to Z. But a lot of good friends of mine are in the front line, if that's the word I'm looking for. My buddy Bob Staff, he's like a head nurse down at down at General, and Joni and Doc Henry and stuff, and Robin. A lot of good friends of mine are right in the, right there on the line, and we have to send a big shout out to them first, because it's, you always have to worry about your good, anybody, but your good friends that are right in the right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have some friends too that are nurses, and seeing their Facebook posts and putting themselves in harm's way. And here in Luzerne County, in Lackawanna County, between our two counties here alone, a lot of cases, a lot of deaths. Personally, I don't know. I do know some people that have it. I fortunately haven't known anybody that has passed, but you're absolutely right. That's where all of our thoughts are right now, and that's why we're doing this. That's why we're staying home and trying to give those guys some time to.
By the way, I think it's a great idea. I do think it's a great idea what you're doing, from starting and doing this, because you're getting a lot of different people's opinions. How the people you've had so far, you have a great list, and hopefully keep it going. To keep people enthused and and looking forward to the future. I mean, we all know this is something none of us ever thought would happen in our lifetime, but it's like all we could do is just keep going every day.
Well, thanks, Rich. I mean, this is really the only thing I can do right now. Once the casino closed a month ago, my radio show went on hiatus, and so I just got old school. I said, well, let's interview people. That's really what I started doing in music, going back to the early 90s. So get on the phone and talk to people, and let's get their perspective on what we're all going through. And for me, my little niche here in Northeast PA has been music, and so that was the natural thing for me to do. So thank you for that. I enjoy doing them, because I wish that we weren't doing these things. I wish I was coming out to see your band and having a couple of beers at the bar. But
yeah, me too.
But here we are. So let's talk about it. let's talk about the sound and light side of things first with Rock Street. I mean, that is really your bread and butter, and it's more behind the scenes. I think when people see Richie, they think of Flaxy and they think of walking into the store and seeing you and buying a guitar, but really, most of your business, from what you've told me over the years, comes from providing that gear, the sound and lighting equipment, and production to club shows and events. So how has this affected you? I mean, how many have you lost going back 5 or 6 weeks now?
Well, that part, actually, my brother does handle the production part of it. So those guys, he has more of the schedule of that. But just in general,
let's give a shout out to your brother Billy Kossuth, who's your partner in the business, and your right hand man, and your best friend, and I realize when I was speaking in general about Rock Street that is a big part of your business that your brother oversees. So how has that affected that side of things?
Well, like you have the casino, obviously. You have the Woodlands. You have the Kirby. For places that we're always doing shows at, and with them closed down, there's actually obviously nothing. I mean, it's not just them; it's the whole music scene. But for us, that's the local parts. Besides, any of the shows that we would be doing, out of town. Right now, obviously, we're not sure what's going on with the Briggs Farm because I know that's a big gig for us. As far as I know, they're still on.
I talked to Richard 2 weeks ago. Actually, we were talking about the Agnes movie that we have been trying to make for a while because the 50th anniversary is coming up in 2 years, and we revisited that topic. And as of 2 weeks ago, Richard was still hoping to get that event going, but everything's so fluid right now. Who knows? I mean,
obviously, right now, like I said, with the casino being down, we have. We've had guys in breakers working, then all the rooms, anytime they had any kind of events in the big room, we had those too. So with them being down, that has us down. A lot of shows have been canceling at the Kirby. I'm not sure exactly how many have, but obviously there's nothing we could do about what had canceled. We just have to look forward to hopefully that's going to change in the future. None of us really know when that's going to happen. We just have to hope and pray that it's sooner than later. There's a lot of good speculation going on now to open places, but I guess we just have, like I said, have to take it one day at a time.
How many shows would you say Rock Street, average, does sound and lights for throughout the year?
That's a good question.
Average year. I mean, I'm thinking it's got to be. 52 weeks in a year. You're doing a couple. It's got to be hundreds, right? I mean, probably. I mean, every year is different. Just like the touring. There's some artists that come in. We even do some work at Montage. Not to keep them out of the loop because we do some of the graduations up there. I mean, we don't do the major things at Montage because a lot of those guys obviously tour with their own production. Sure.
And but if there's supplement. We just did the Gin Blossoms up there. It was like, I think that was the last big show we did. It was the week before everything shut down. They had the Gin Blossoms play outside and for I think the year-end party, if I'm not mistaken, on what that was. So
you at the ski lodge, yeah.
Mhm. And that was the biggest show we did. But every year is different. It's just so hard to say how many shows because there's years that I'm like, wow, where did these bands come from? And then there's times like, geez, it's not as busy as it used to be because it's just I hate the word feast or famine, but that's how, if Elton John decides to tour this year, he's going to be out there for his last tour. And then it's like, well, I'll take some time off and then come back and tour. And the same thing with a lot of the bands, you see out there. How many tours? I don't even know how many tours have been canceled so far this year.
Well, they kind of reluctant to do it because from what I've been reading, a postponement is, like, so let's say you had a summer tour and you sold a lot of tickets for a lot of shows, you postpone the tour, and then the promoter can hang on to that money, and when it's rescheduled, you just honor the ticket. Now, Bon Jovi made some news a couple of days ago because they announced they were going to cancel their tour. And the reason that John Bon Jovi said was because he wanted the fans to be able to get the money back right now.
Okay.
And so that's how that works. So if it's postponed, no refund, wait for the rescheduled date, honor the ticket at the rescheduled show, cancellation, refund. And so, different artists are handling that different ways. I think Bon Jovi was the first one to announce a cancellation, and that was their reason. And when you think about it from the band's perspective, if they're genuinely concerned about their fans, which it seems like that John was when he said that, well then, that if you get this tour back up and running and you reschedule the whole thing and you put the tickets on sale again in the fall, that those people, as long as they're financially able, they're going to buy a ticket again. So, why not give them their money back now? And that was his thinking. How that works across the board with Live Nation, with other tours, that's still something that I think everybody's trying to figure out. When do we have to say we can't do this tour this year? I mean, not June, July, like September, October.
Right.
I was supposed to go see Sting next week in Philadelphia. This show is tentatively rescheduled for November. So, we'll see. That's kind of where that's at. What about the store side of things with you, Rich? I mean, you have to close the front doors of Rock Street. Can people still come in and buy a guitar right now?
They can't come.
Doing online stuff?
We're able to. Right, exactly. Anything like that we're able to do. Unfortunately, we're not able to be open to the general public. People can't come in the store, but I have done, people call if they need anything from guitar strings to simple things. We're still doing repairs because we're able to still be open at our warehouse where we have our guys, down there working. And, and that obviously going back to the production part, we have, anywhere from, 3 to 4 main guys that work with us up to, all the union guys that work all the shows that we do that are also affected, locally and internationally, obviously, that are sitting around that they, can't do anything. But, we're able to do sales. If somebody wants me to ship something, I can. We're able to leave stuff outside, and meet them outside, or I could take stuff out. Chris, my guitar player, the band happened to, order a Music Man, like right the day they closed the shop out in California, and we were like the last guitar to be brought in. I'm like, I can't let you in the store, but it was like go meet you in the parking lot, and it's dark out there, and I put it in your car, But it's tough because a lot of the musicians aren't playing, so there's nothing really that they need in my right at this moment. There's people, of course, still calling people. I go down the shop every day, to do paperwork and get caught up, and I could be there and sell. But for just the general public, I don't know when they're going to. As far as now, they said May 8th, they're going to start to, soft openings. I'm pretty sure is what they said. Are we going to be part of that? I don't know.
It seems to me that you should be able to be. I was saying the same thing to Dustin Douglas the other day because he works at Music Around. And, there's really, how many people are in the store at one time ever? I mean,
right.
Is it 4 or 5?
One of the biggest.
You can have people wait outside,
Yeah, no, that's possible. The biggest thing that we have that we're, not sure what's going to happen is we have a lot of lessons. Further, the students are great. I've seen kids over the 35-year span come in and, they're 8, 9 years old, and then they're graduating high school, and they're still taking lessons. But a lot of these kids, we miss them, and they miss being down there. I don't know if any of the teachers are doing, online, Skype-type lessons or anything like that. I always leave that up to the teacher, whether they want to do that, or even at the store. I don't tell my teachers how to teach. They do their own teaching, but it's like we haven't had any kids in the store, and the parents going to want the kids to be out in the store this early, so we just have to say, I guess you could say, play that one by ear.
Well, I know,
but we're available. We're here.
My cousin Wesley taught there. Wesley Stout taught guitar there for years. Phyllis Hopkins is there now, still currently, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wes has been there. I don't know how many years. Too many. Too many good years. Not in a bad way, good way. Yeah, Phyllis is there with Mike and Shiny. Shiny's been, I think, a teacher for us for about. He was a student, and he's been there for a long time too. And everybody misses the interacting. It's just a nice thing. You're at the store, and these little kids come in. Some of them are like 5, 6 years old, and they're, hey, Richie, you know, it's like it makes you feel so good that they're excited to come in and excited to learn, and we miss that. We miss that part of the business.
You've told me before in other interviews that we've done, you've seen people grow up coming in, you know, as a youngster, you know, getting their first instrument and, you know, going up to playing in bands and so forth.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just really cool. And some of them that have gone on, you know, like Brian Quinn. He's with Candlebox. You know Brian, don't you?
Yeah.
He's right he was a Pittston boy. He used to take lessons at the store. He's out on tour with those guys. I don't know what they're actually doing right now. And even go back in the day before Breaking Benjamin, you know, went on tour. Those guys used to be rehearsing at the store, and you know, kids would see them in there and come in and be like, oh, hey, you know, Ben would sit and talk to the kids and Aaron, all the guys that would be there. It's really a cool thing for these kids to see something like that and grow up, and you know, a lot of them are missing anything like that.
Well, it's always been one of the things that's nice about your store, Rich, is, you know, you pop in and chances are not only you're going to see you or your mom or Gene, but you're going, or Billy if he's around, but you're gonna see someone else, you know, and you're gonna wind up standing there talking for a half an hour.
Oh yeah, I mean, my mom's a big part of the store. She's still down there, you know, helping out. And before I get there, and she misses all the students coming in. You know, they'd be like, hey, hi, Mama G, you know, and you miss that interaction. You could tell, and you just want to go back to that.
Well, yeah, I think we all hope that everything gets back to normal, you know, as soon as possible. And, you know, I know that you've got some longtime employees there that it affects. And like you mentioned, several people that work for you that this is displacing. You know, I hope that you and your staff are getting through all this all right. And maybe some of this government assistance that's going to be helping small businesses and, you know, independent contractors and people that work, you know, not 9-to-5 jobs per se, but more along the lines of in the music world, that, you know, it'll help them out as well.
We've been fortunate. We've kept all of our main guys on, and you know, we're taking care of them. And they're applying for help also, and we've been applying for the help, and haven't heard anything yet. And you know, hopefully this will be gone before we even have to get to that part. But you know, we just got to keep going. And you know, I know we'll survive it. It's this summer, believe it or not, Alan, is 35 years of the store, and you know, we're trying to do some big things about it, but it's just almost like, you know, that's kind of very small in the world compared to what's going on in the world. So we'll just take it day by day. You know, you look at. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you had some 35th anniversary celebration type things planned that now you have to maybe postpone or not do?
Not yet, because it actually, we kind of started off in the beginning of the summer, and we were going to wait till we get through the summer, kind of just how like Flaxy did, like our anniversary was in the summer, but we waited till after things simmered down. And same thing with RICHIE. Like I had planned that. I had a lot of different thoughts, and I decided, I guess we'll pick it up as things progress. That's the best way to put it.
Well, that's something to look forward to. I know that so many musicians in town, you know, it's just a place where people just, you know, get their stuff, get their gear, rent their stuff, have taken lessons, like we said before.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
thank you.
You have a 35th anniversary celebration a little later in the year. That's something I think everybody would like to, you know, be a part of and help you celebrate. Yeah, Richie, let's talk about Flaxy too. I mean, you know, we've covered, you know, the musical side of it with you renting gear and shows and your staff, and the business side, the storefront side. And I think that's one of the reasons that I hope people tune into this, because as Rich said, you can still get music equipment from Rock Street. You know, give them a call, and they could, you know, they have meet you out front or do something online or make an arrangement. So if you really need, you know, some new gear right now, some chords or strings or instrument, you know, reach out to Rich, and like he just said, him and his staff could still take care of you. Flipping things over to Flaxy, busy band, you know, like a lot of bands that have been around a while. You started off as a real busy bar band, and then as you get older, and we all get older, I think you start doing weddings and other private events, and the reputation got out there. Many lineup changes over the years, but you've been the core of it and the glue, and remained the founding member. How has COVID-19 affected the band, Richie. Obviously, you've probably lost a bunch of shows over the past 6 weeks, and moving forward into the summer bazaars, that's a big thing for you. I know you used to even call it your summer bazaar tour. You had the T-shirts made with all the, and those are important fundraisers for those churches and those fire halls. And I know I was on the committee for our church bazaar, still am with the marketing side of it, and they need that event. Have you heard anything about how the summer bazaars might be affected by COVID-19?
As far as now, we had a few. They had the Pierogi Festival. I just, I happened to see that they had canceled theirs. People are talking. I think they're going to wait a little bit just to see what's going to happen. But you're right. Going back to the aspect of, besides the band playing,
Edwardsville Festival is canceled. Edwardsville Festival.
Yeah, that's. I happen to see that on. I'm waiting for 100% confirmation, but actually Sierra, the one that had told me before I saw it, but it was in the Citizen's Voice that they had said. I think this was going to be their 7th one.
Yeah,
and
I missed that news item. I live there. I go to that every year. That's right in usually the beginning of the summer, actually June. So that would make sense, I guess.
I think it was the second week of June. I think this year was like the 12th, 13th weekend. But I'm sure more are going to happen. But like you said, a lot of the churches, firemen, they count on. We've been fortunate to play many of them, and we would do very well for them and make them money. And besides people coming and having a good time, and taking their kids out, whether it's that or going out for some potato pancakes and a beer for the weekend, the churches and firehouses all count on that money to survive. I'm not saying only on that, but the churches need, especially now and what's going on. People can't be in churches, so they all look forward to a nice, whatever you want to call it, icing on the cake for helping out for the whole year, and that's going to affect a lot of people. I'm hoping that none of them and the rest of them aren't going to cancel, but I guess you have to just play it by ear. Going back to what you were saying about how it's affected since it started, we have a lot of places from, the little nights and Plains Pub in Pittston and that to Chaco's. I mean, those guys are really good friends of mine. And, a lot of people like to go to Chaco's and they're open for the food part of the business, but they're not able to be open, obviously, for the bowling alley and the bar. And, you have 3 different things that are adding there. And, it's affecting, people want to come there. A lot of people like to go down there, like Mill and Jim's and right down to the casinos and all that stuff, all those places. I'm sorry, and it's weird. It's like who would think something like this? But I guess people have to be safe to the aspect of we can't have 1,000 people at a festival walking around each other. So that's where they're looking at it.
Yeah, and I've talked to this point with almost everybody that I talked to during these podcasts for the past 2 weeks, and it's an unusual situation where you postpone an event and you don't know when you can reschedule it. Usually you could pick a new date right away. Mm-hmm. If it's rained out or snowed out or someone's ill, you just scratch it off the calendar and we'll redo it here. And you pick a day, and you usually announce a rescheduled date right away. And that seems to be, such a difficult part of all this. And you're right with those firemen bazaars and church bazaars that you're such a big part of. That's a huge fundraiser for those places. And so they're going to see if they could hang on to it as long as they can. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them even try to do it maybe in the fall. If they realize they can't do their church bazaar in July, maybe they try to do it in September. And it's really hard to take that income off the books for a lot of those places. And I know
that the Lackawanna Heritage Festival, I spoke to my friend Tina, and she's part of the bookings and up there, and she told me that they were supposed to be the weekend after Memorial Day, and they definitely postponed theirs. They didn't pick a date, but they're looking at hopefully doing it in September sometime, just like you said, get through the tough parts right now. But I guess we all have to play it by ear and see what happens.
And my thinking on that, if to anybody tuning in that has an event like that is why not? I mean, we've got good weather here through mid-October. It really doesn't start to get too cold until, third week, fourth week of October. We've had beautiful weather right up to Halloween. And so if you think you could still get it done this year, and it's something you really need to do for the financial side of your operation, don't cancel it yet. Maybe postponement is the way to go. We'll know if you start seeing the NFL saying they're not going to have a season, MLB not going to have a season, and it's just not happening. Then okay, it's not happening this year. But right now I guess we're not quite there yet.
Just really quick, when you said the baseball the other day, I was going to text you and Wes. I was at the store, and I'm like, oh, here's the Yankees World Series on. It was from 1998. They're rebroadcasting it.
Oh. Wesley and I went out we were there for Game 6, and they won the pennant in 98. So we have fond memories of that season. That was a super team. And I know you usually get down to Texas every year, or every couple of years at least, to go see a Cowboy game. I know that's one thing we have in common. We don't even know if there's going to be a season there. So this is just unprecedented waters that we're all working through together. Rich, I have one last question for you, because I think we covered everything. I wanted to talk to you about the events that you do sound for, and the store itself, and Flaxy. And obviously with Flaxy, shows aren't happening right now, and a lot of them that are on the books for the next 2-3 months, you're not sure what's going to happen with them. Everybody's in the same boat there.
We actually even, excuse me one second, we have, because one question that people do ask me is, we have private parties and weddings and such, and booked up. And excuse me, right now, everything's still a go with that, but we're just playing that obviously day by day, and so we get a call to say, hey, obviously be safe, they could always be pushed to a different date.
And one thing, weddings booked this year, in weddings that may have been planned attendees of 200, 300, 400 people in ballrooms around the region, and those have not been postponed. Not yet.
Our next one, excuse me, I have something in the throat, just won't go away, of course, when I'm on the radio, right? We've had private events. Excuse me, the private stuff that we had, we play at a place called Glen Oaks Country Club up in Clark's Green, that we've been playing there for about almost 10 years now, and we play like 2 or 3 events of theirs, and we already have one. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to be May 1st. It's like a libations party and stuff, but that's postponed. Hopefully they'll rebook that. I haven't had the weddings cancel or postpone as of yet, and I guess it could. I hate saying the word. I have to play it by ear and see what happens.
You had to have had some weddings though that were postponed in late March and April so far, right? I don't know.
We didn't have anything
gathering of more than 10 people right now.
Yeah, we didn't have anything booked as far as anything like that when this all started. We did have clubs, and we had, the casino and such that we played in different places that we did, but nothing that was like a wedding. That was, the big day for somebody. Fortunately, nothing had canceled as far as that goes. And on a quick note here, I'm actually looking at the post you had here. Our good friend Lorene, remember Lorene? She's out. I don't know where she's at now. I think she's in California. She just put a little post up about just saying my name, and I miss you guys so much. It's really nice to see that. That's a part that you didn't ask me about. That when I was talking to Hoover and Ryan the other day, the guys that used to work with us that are on major tours, like Lorene was out with Lizzo for a couple of months. They're all postponed. Any dates with them, and Brian Moran and a couple of the other guys.
Lobo, you're talking about Lobo. Okay.
Lobo, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get Lorraine when you first said, because I was Lobo was the producer of Music on the Menu radio show for the first couple of years that I went over to the river. She was on the air on the river. She was drive time for a couple of years, and now she's out doing sound all over the country and the world, doing great for herself. So so you're talking about Lobo. Okay.
Yeah, Lobo. And She just put a little post to say hello on the post about you and I doing the podcast here. So I just said, it's really cool to say a little shout out to her. But a lot of people like her that are affected in the big, scene of touring. A lot of the guys, we have probably about good 8 to 10 guys that have, went up the ranks with us at RICHIE that went on to be on tour with different people. They're all at a standstill just as much as anybody else. And, Lorraine, she's out in California. She was out with Lizzo, and I obviously, with nothing going on, not sure what she's doing there right now.
No, I mean, and I did see that there's some efforts by Live Nation to help those people. They're doing some fundraisers. I think they've committed to a $10 million match.
I heard that. I heard that on the radio. That's really cool.
Yeah. And then some bands are selling T-shirts, and it's kind of like the No Tour T-shirt, the stay-at-home T-shirt, with 100% of the profits going to helping people that do that type of work, that are the people that make these shows happen. The sound technicians and the people that set up staging and lighting, and I think that's terrific that those folks are being remembered at this time, and that there's something being done out there by the people that can afford to do it. The big acts. The big acts.
No, it is.
The church. They're millionaires, so they're fine. So that's a pretty cool thing that I did see happening. It's good to hear Lobo's doing all right. I should check in with her. Maybe I will. Maybe we'll get her doing these podcasts, get her perspective on this. And I know her well.
That's actually a really good one.
Richie, I wanted to ask you one other thing. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
To catch up with you. You were one of the musicians from town that did some posts on social media last week. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow that we lost Jerry Hludzik. Share with us some of your thoughts on Jerry and your working with him over the years.
Oh God, I've known Jerry from the days when I was probably 13, 14 years old. I didn't know him back then, but going to St. John's dances and seeing the boys, and in his day when he was at the boys, then he went on to Jerry Kelly and Dakota, and I stayed friends with Jerry throughout the years. I've been fortunate to have played a couple of gigs with him. One of the best ones, people ask me, what I thought was best memory of Jerry. They had a fundraiser at the Jazz Cafe. This has to be like 10 plus years ago. And a good friend of mine called me and goes, "Hey, what are you doing today?" I said, "No, it was a Sunday afternoon. I'm not open, just hanging out." "Oh, you're playing with Dakota tonight." I'm like, okay, so I'm playing with Bill and Jerry, two, people that are like on a pedestal, and you're just going to throw me in here and go, "Hey, you're playing." I mean, I heard songs before, but when you don't know the breaks and stuff, Bill would be looking at me like, "Okay, stop, start, back in here." But it was great. It was great to do that. And then I was fortunate to be able to play, as small as it was gigantic to me, playing Timothy at Jerry's. 2 years ago we did that. And here what was cool about that is his son Eli was there, who's a phenomenal drummer, and Danny Sarah from Chicago, who's a phenomenal drummer, was there. And he, Bill Kelly said, "Nope, you helped us. We did the production for it, but you helped us. You're playing Timothy." Because I think I said to him, "I want to play Timothy." And he goes, "I promise you, you're going to do it." And same thing at the Tomato Festival. I don't know if you knew that they played the Tomato Festival.
That was actually their last time they played together, because the Jammin' for Jerry benefit was in April.
Right.
And then so they came back and did the show. I guess that was in August.
It was August.
That was the last time that Jerry and Bill ever were on stage together, and you were part of that as well.
And it was really, really cool to be part of that and to see. And I back in the Cinch days, they were producing the music for the band, and so I've been fortunate to have known those guys, Bill and Jerry, for so long. And definitely it's going to be a big void. You're not going to, you still always hear the music. When you hear the music, you think of him, from the boys to Dakota to Takes All Night. Like when they played at the Tomato Festival, Jerry didn't miss a beat. It came part to his line, and If It Takes All Night, he had that line right there. And you could see he was starting to go. His health was going downhill a little bit, but he still played great. I saw him that December and was fortunate to have him over and have a drink with him and just reminisce about like all different things about it. And then after that, he's been down in the Philly area, so wasn't able to really, stay in touch with him except for message here, message there,
Yeah.
So Lobo just sent me. I just said, Ellen and I just said hello, live invite you. She goes, I miss both of you so much, so I can tell her that she'll be calling.
Yeah, tell her I'm going to be reaching out to her to get her on the line, do one of these podcasts, because she's, what she's accomplished is she knew what she wanted to do, and she went out and did it, and so much respect for her. We had a good time working on my show together for a couple of years before she took that gig.
I'm not very proud. I mean, proud of all the guys that work for us, but it's really nice to see somebody like her that just, like you said, just picked up and said, I'm going to do this. And she was out with Michael Bolton for a while, really neat.
I know. Yeah, we're still in touch on social media. Richie, thanks so much for everything. Thanks for all that you've done for this music community here in Northeastern Pennsylvania for decades now, 35 years with Rock Street Music, 26 years with Flaxy, and even going back prior to that with some of the bands that you played in as when you were a young man. You've entertained us all in many ways and helped entertain us in many ways over the years. And so, on behalf of a whole bunch of us here, I want to thank you, and I'm glad you're hanging in there okay and you're doing all right during this tough time.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that very much. And keep up the good work with everything you're doing there.
All right, bud. We'll be in touch. You hang in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.